What if I told you that Hamilton's final lap in the Barcelona tests was not only the fastest, but also the most symbolic of his entire Ferrari career? What does that 1 minute and 16.348 seconds really mean, and why did it leave its rivals cold? Stay, because what happened that Friday could be the beginning of the end, or the beginning of a new era. Barcelona, January 30th, 2026. In theory, it was just another day in the silent calendar of the Formula One preseason. The official cameras had already been turned off. Most journalists began to write their final notes, convinced that there were no surprises left to see. But as global attention slowly faded, Ferrari was about to light the fuse of what could be a silent revolution. For 5 days, the Scuderia had done nothing spectacular. No headlines, no impact timers. Fred Vasseur had made it clear from the beginning of the tests. They were not looking for times, but validation. And so they accomplished it. They dedicated each day to verifying correlation between the simulator, wind tunnel, and real data. Fast laps were not interesting. Reliability was interesting. The consistency. Accurate reading of the car under different load, temperature, aerodynamics, and energy conditions. Because after a chaotic 2025, plagued by technical errors, mechanical breakdowns, and penalties for minimal irregularities, Ferrari knew that in 2026 it could not afford to fail. Not this time. Therefore, every kilometer traveled in Barcelona was calculated. Each long run was run with different objectives. Understanding the new Pirelli tires, measuring the impact of active aerodynamics in different modes, analyzing the performance of the new MGUK boosted to 350 kilowatts, and verifying that the car did not overheat or suffer energy losses in prolonged traction. In the eyes of the public, Ferrari was simply hanging around. But internally they were building trust. They were taking notes that would be gold during the season. And all that work had one purpose: to set up a silent coup for the finale. Because while the rivals showed their cards from the second or third day, Ferrari had a different idea. Save the best for last. Not only for media strategy, also due to technical conditions. They knew that the evolution of the track throughout the week would be significant. They knew that when the tests closed, the rivals would be relaxed, deprogramming qualifying simulations to take care of engines and parts. They knew that there, in that gap of collective distraction, they could execute their cleanest blow. And they chose Lewis Hamilton to do it. It wasn't a coincidence. It was a carefully written script. Because Hamilton, beyond his 7 titles, represents something that Ferrari has not had since Schumacher's time. A driver capable of absorbing pressure, redefining internal structures, and transmitting confidence not with words, but with action. And that Friday afternoon, when the sun began to set over the Circuit de Catalunya, they gave him the car with quali configuration, the right fuel, the new engine map, the soft C3 tires, and a perfectly rubberized track. It was his turn. What no one knew at that time is that that lap would not only define the closing of the tests, but also the narrative that can mark Formula One in 2026. A narrative built not in the lights of Sundays, but in the shadow of a Friday in January, when everyone was already looking the other way. 1:16.348. That was the number that appeared on Ferrari's control monitor when Hamilton crossed the finish line. A simple set of numbers for any outside viewer. But for those who understand what a fast lap represents in the context of a private test, that time was a warning sign. Because it was not a casual turn. It was a turn executed with surgical precision. A controlled, prepared sequence designed to measure the true ceiling of SF26. And what that lap revealed was not just that the car is fast. It revealed that Ferrari, for the first time in a long time, has a complete package. Hamilton had left the pit with only one objective: to test the car's absolute performance in qualifying simulation conditions. A short run with a rich mixture, MGUK in its maximum deployment, active aerodynamics ready to switch between high and low load modes, and a set of practically new C3 soft tires. There was no traffic on the runway. The wind was stable. The asphalt was completely rubberized after 5 days of uninterrupted activity. It was the perfect moment. In turn 1, Hamilton kept the brake pedal down until the last second before transferring lateral load to the front axle. The stability that the car showed at that time was the first telltale indicator. There were no stalls. There were no rebounds. There were no corrections. The SF26 remained neutral, planted, obedient. In the middle sector, the entrance to turns 4 and 5 revealed another significant change compared to the Ferraris of previous years: traction. That clean start, without slippage, without loss of time due to corrections, was a direct product of the new front pushrod suspension, which works in conjunction with a redesigned axle geometry and a more efficient mass balance. But the most spectacular point came on the backstretch. There, the active aerodynamic system replaced the traditional DRS. A system that, if not perfectly synchronized with the electrical deployment, can be more of a problem than a solution. But not in this case. Hamilton activated low-load mode just as the SF26 reached 290 km per hour, and simultaneously, the MGUK delivered its additional boost without interruption. No clipping. No loss of power. A clean transition between curves and straights, between loading and releasing, between efficiency and aggression. It was a technical orchestra working in unison. And that was just the first attempt. Because the most important thing was not the 1 minute and 16.348 seconds lap itself. What was impressive was what happened next. Hamilton did not return to the box after that turn. He turned more around. Several. All within the range of 116 low and 117 high. That means something that very few cars in Ferrari's recent history could boast. Wide operating window. A car capable of maintaining pace under different temperature settings, fuel load, asphalt condition, and tire pressure. In other words, a predictable, consistent, controllable car. Just what a driver needs to perform under real pressure, not just in test conditions. The engineers, meanwhile, did not speak. They looked at the graphs. SF26 wasn't just complying. He was exceeding every prediction the simulator had given them. Every curve drawn by Hamilton aligned almost to the millimeter with the optimal trajectories defined by the prediction software. Downforce and fast cornering was stable. The brake temperature did not show overheating peaks. The rear differential responded precisely. And the hybrid engine, which gave them so many headaches in 2025, did not show a single anomaly. Even beyond the engineering, the return meant something psychological. It was the first moment in which Hamilton seemed truly fused with the car. Until that day, the Briton had worked meticulously to adapt his style to the needs of the SF26. Longer braking curves, greater retention in the second phase of traction, progressive throttle modulation at corner exit. In this round, all that work converged. There was no tension. There was no doubt. Just fluidity. That specific moment, the last session, the last lap, on the last day of testing was carefully chosen by Ferrari. They weren't looking for headlines. They were looking for silent impact. They wanted to know, with scientific precision, what they were capable of when they gave their all. And the answer was clear. They are capable of fighting. Capable of putting a car in front without having to hide loads or disguise results. Because at the end of that lap, what became clear is that Hamilton was not testing a car. He was signing his letter of intent for the 2026 season. One return, yes, but a return that spoke 1,000 words. What that Hamilton lap activated in Ferrari was much deeper than an internal celebration. In reality, it triggered a new stage. Because it wasn't just a competitive time in a private test. It was the validation of a technical, organizational, and philosophical model that Ferrari had been quietly redesigning since mid-2023. A fast lap is, in essence, a reflection of the whole. Of the chassis design, of data compression, of aerodynamic balance, of thermal management, of the integration of hybrid systems, of the communication between engineers and driver, of the quality of operational execution. All of this is condensed into a single turn. And if that turn is perfect, then what's behind it is too, or at least it's on that path. In Maranello, Hamilton's return was received as an unmistakable signal. What for years was a structural problem, the disconnection between the wind tunnel, the simulator, and the track, seemed to finally be resolved. The data collected during that last day of testing coincided with what was projected by the simulation engineers. That, in modern Formula One, doesn't just mean precision. It means efficient development. It means that every future evolution that is designed in the factory is much more likely to work on the track. It means time gained, optimized resources, and ultimately sustained performance. That is the secret that defines champion teams. For Ferrari, this alignment between theory and practice is more valuable than any isolated podium. It is what they have lacked in recent years to maintain an upward development curve during the season. In 2022 and 2023, improvements introduced in the middle of the year often failed. They did not fit with the CFD predictions or generated unforeseen side effects, such as excessive understeer or overheating of the rear axle. In 2025, even with a competitive car on certain tracks, correlation and reliability errors condemned them at key moments. But now, in 2026, if what was seen in Barcelona holds, Ferrari not only has a good car, it has a scalable tool. Let me know below in the comments what you think about all this.